Believe it or not, it's another VO podcast with three guys who are full-time voice actors at different stages of life, career, and location.
But they have formed a bond and work together to hold each other accountable and help each other on their VO path.
Three guys from different backgrounds working together, helping each other, and sharing with you along the way.
Hey, what are we calling it again?
It's another VO
podcast.
Okay, guys. Sorry, I get it. Come on, you're not my dads.
Hey everybody, welcome back. It's another VO podcast. And like we promised all throughout the holiday season, we have interview. We have today my first coach.
Mine too.
Mike Hathcote. Welcome,
Hello.
Mike.
What up?
How y'all doing?
Doing great. Great to have you. I'm so glad to have you on the podcast. I started coaching with Mike right when the pandemic hit. I don't know if you remember that or not. I had picked up what you were then calling the six-pack, and we met a couple times, and then the world shut down. And Mike's like the outside of my family, the only person I got to talk to for a little bit.
Well, I'm glad I was there for you, sir.
Thanks, buddy. I appreciate it.
Yeah, I think a lot of it was happening around. I mean, the thing about voice actors is that I even posted something like this on social media one time. We already social distance and, we're kind of locked in our little booths every day. So, yeah.
Yep, that is very true. And Mike Hathcote you were just nominated for a SOVAS for your narration demo.
I was.
Congrats on that.
Thanks, man. Yeah. I know you guys just did an episode on the awards thing.
We did. Came out today, actually.
Yeah. But yeah, it was a cool surprise.
That is pretty cool. And we offered lots of opinions over awards and all of that, and probably covered the gamut of how people might feel and maybe even utilize awards to their benefit in their marketing and stuff.
I think we were trying to stabilize the people that were freaking out.
Yeah.
Thinking, well, I had a really good demo. Why wasn't it nominated? Well, did you enter it to be nominated? Did you pay the fee to be considered? And a lot of people don't know. They don't understand how all that works. So we try to clear some of that up and then probably confuse it even more. It's usually what we do. But
this one was the producer, Anne Ganguza. I'm sure you know who she is. She's the one who submitted it. And interesting story about that demo. It was my corporate narration demo.
Nice.
And I recorded it with pneumonia. So,
what?
Yeah.
I listened to it, and it sounds really good.
Thanks. Yeah.
Can't tell.
I've been dealing with this. I had pneumonia, and then that developed into valley fever. I don't know if you guys have ever heard of that. It's something that you get out here in the Southwest. Yeah. It's kind of a lung infection that can infect your whole body. And I've been dealing with that since July and still have it.
Oh, my gosh. Oh, my goodness.
Just tested positive the other day again. So anyway, it is what it is. But luckily, it hasn't affected the voice. So I'm still working.
Well, no fun. But yeah, your demo sounds really good. And I hope you get a ton of work off of it.
Thanks.
So Mike helped me put together one of my early demos. He has a hybrid approach where he and produce the demo for you. Mike doesn't do that, but he'll coach you and help you pick out good spots and put together a demo. If you're just getting started like I was when I got coaching from Mike, that's a great way to get some of your first demos that will help you get some of that early work, and then you can graduate up to better and better demos, which, may win a SOVAS.
Yeah, absolutely. That's the reason why I call it a hybrid is that it's, in a normal demo pro quote unquote pro demo situation, you have a session with the producer and record all the spots or whatever, and then you send everything over to them, and then they pretty it up and they put all the bells and whistles on there, and then hand it back to you, and then there's your demo. Well, this is kind of a hybrid because we have some of that direction, but we also put a little bit of onus on the talent to actually do some of the work. So you kind of have more skin in the game, if that makes sense. And so you get your hands dirty and you can kind of learn the process versus just having something handed to you. And so yeah, that's kind of why we call it a hybrid demo.
Yeah, and it's not just all in our hands either. You helped me learn how to add some sound effects in the right spot to kind of give it a little more depth, a little more um, uh, appearance, of being a top tier demo, and it really helped me a lot when I did that. And listened to my demo over and over again. I mean, you listened multiple times
Oh yeah,
and heard little things that I wasn't hearing,
yeah,
and that
yeah.
was a tremendous help.
It's so hard to do a DIY, 100% DIY demo, just because it's really hard to self-direct.
Mhm.
You have to be. It's hard to be subjective on yourself, right?
Mhm.
And so having that other person to guide you through not only the performance aspect, but also the technical side of adding all the music and sound effects and picking the right styles, to put together is crucial.
Yeah.
Yeah, for sure. Mike was the person that I don't even know if he remembers this. He accidentally branded me. We were doing the spots, and I had this one in there. I was trying to do everything in my regular voice, and I had this one, and it was work boots. And I go into this, Red Wing work boots or whatever it was. I don't even remember. It was a version of Red Wing. And he's like, damn, that's blue collar, man. That's your niche. That's what you're going to do. That's your first spot. And sure enough, here we are 3 years later. That's definitely my niche. I book the heck out of that.
That's
So
it, and you kill it, dude. I mean, it's you know, I like to work with people who know their strengths and weaknesses, and capitalize on their strengths, and then of course and I don't want to say weaknesses. Let's call it areas of opportunity.
Yeah,
mhm,
yeah,
um,
yeah.
mhm.
and the fact that you just leaned into that and are now just crushing it using that same thing is killer. Love it. Super proud.
Yeah,
Yep,
it's always, it's either take one or take two on some auditions because some people don't want that. They want just a regular thing. And I
Mhm.
work on that. I coach with Tom on trying to develop a more Gen M character for
Mhm.
some things, and it's helping. I'm booking more of that now than I was before, but the bread and butter is right where it started, and it's amazing. Where a lot of people, they may have that natural ability, but they want to shy away from it because they're afraid it won't catch on or it won't
Yeah.
sell or it won't book.
Yeah.
There's not much that won't book in voiceover.
Mm-mm.
And I think that great example we heard the other day from Sound and Fury, there were, 700 and some odd booked jobs, but 680 something different booked voice actors.
Mm-hmm.
So that tells you may not book over and over and over in that same thing with that repeat client somehow in that
right.
genre. But if you'll stick to your guns, it'll come around. If you're good at it, it'll
Yeah.
work out. So
Yep.
Absolutely.
Well, this may
crazy.
open up a question I have for you, Mike, because you just redid one of your demos.
Mm-hmm.
Could you talk to us about how voice actors can determine whether it's time to update their demo or to produce a new demo or go get a new demo done for themselves?
Yeah, absolutely. So this was actually the first demo that I had done that was specific to corporate narration. I'd done other previous, narration style demos that had, e-learning and stuff built into them, but this is the first one that was completely centered on just corporate.
Yeah.
But to the broader question, um, there's a couple of ways that you can kind of get a gauge on whether it's time. Number one is, are your skills, at a different level now than they were when you recorded your first demo? Hopefully you've been doing some coaching and learning and kind of sharpening your skills. And if you know that your skills are in a newer place than they were, say, a year, 2, 3 ago when you did your other demo, then yes, it's time to go ahead and do a new one. Another one is whether or not trends have changed.
Mm-hmm.
So there are some trends that are kind of, in vogue that like right now, these little 8-second spots. I mean, who would have thought that an 8-second spot would
Yeah.
be a thing? Well, those people are doing 8-second spot demos now. I know JMC specializes in those.
Mm.
So, follow the trends, see what's booking, what styles are booking. And if your demo doesn't represent that, then maybe it's time to do a new one. Obviously following podcasts and in the industry to find out what those trends are, or just listen to commercials, whether it be on
Yeah.
TV, radio, Spotify, wherever, YouTube, and just kind of go, there's one that I don't have one like that on my demo. Maybe I should do that.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, if you've still got the iPhone 6 and the 2016 Chevy Silverado, it's time to update.
Yeah, and whenever I work with somebody on a demo, we always make sure that there are no dated.
Right.
Yeah, that's
Nothing.
a good move.
Yeah,
that's
right.
a good move.
The 2016 Chevy Silverado. No, we're not going to do that. What we can do though is we can kind of change up the script a little bit, and instead of in the demo saying the 2016, we say the new Chevy Silverado or something like that.
Right.
A lot of people will also ask, well, should I put a Christmas one or a 4th of July one or something like that? That's okay, because we have those every year. Right? It's not dated. It's not like this date in history. It's, well, every year we have a 4th of July. Every year we have a holiday one. So it's fine.
That's interesting.
Yeah.
I would think maybe that would be more like for a certain type of demo, but but you make it make sense if they does come every year, right?
Yeah, I mean, like for instance, the example I always use is like those Ashley furniture commercials where they're super high energy, and this weekend at the Ashley Home Store's 4th of July blowout event. It's okay to do one of those on your demo because 4th of July happens every year and it's not going to get dated.
Yep, makes sense.
And it's really the style that they're hearing.
Yeah, that over the top style or whatever style they're looking for.
Yeah, exactly. Well, I'm curious because I haven't heard your voiceover story, your journey, and how you got into voiceover. And if you could tell us about that, how you got into voiceover, but also include how you picked up and added coaching to your resume.
Okay, yeah. So I started in radio in 1995, and I thought that at the time that was what I wanted to, do for my career. And I enjoyed it. I did it for several years, and I was in my, mid-20s. And at the time, I was also a competitive skateboarder. And so I figured at the time, my career was kind of picking up a little bit there. And so I decided, well, I think what I'm going to do is I'm going to put this radio thing on hold and go skate while I was young enough and breakable to go skate. And so, so I did that for several more years, and I was still kind of doing, voice projects, just side hustle, kind of word of mouth, very seldom, until about 10 years ago, I started thinking a lot more seriously about, I'm in my 40s now, early 40s. And I want to do something more for me. I've always kind of had that entrepreneurial spirit anyway. I've always, I own my own skateboard parks and things like that. But so I started looking into it a little bit more seriously. And finally, the universe told me when I got laid off from GoDaddy that it's time. I used that as a signal to say, okay, well, there's the signal. Let's do it. And so one day I was employed with them. The next day I was doing this full time. And as far as how coaching goes, I just started getting a lot of people after, doing it for a few years. I started getting people reaching out to me, asking, how do I get into it and what do I need to do and that kind of thing. And I never set out to really be a VO coach, but enough people started asking me for help. I was like, well, shoot, maybe I know a thing or three about this. And so started doing some coaching. So yeah, that's kind of how we landed where we are now.
Cool. I knew about your skateboarding, competing in, history. You post a lot of your skateboarding stuff on Instagram.
Yep.
So what makes you determine what you're going to post on Instagram versus LinkedIn versus Facebook, and how does that relate to marketing yourself and showing who you are to a broader audience?
Excellent question. So Instagram is a kind of its own little animal in that it's okay on Instagram to kind of show other aspects of your life other than just your VO stuff, right? Like you'll see stuff on there for VO. You'll see stuff on there for, skateboarding, family stuff, friends, whatever, That's okay, because it's nice to show people that you're a real person and that you have real interests and you do other things besides VO. The key on there is the hashtags, right? When I post something that's VO related, I'm going to put all the VO hashtags on there. And by the way, this is a big confusion to a lot of people. When I say VO hashtags, I don't mean every variation of VO, voiceover, voice actor, voice talent. I think I do one voiceover hashtag. All the rest are the companies that I want to get in front of.
Yeah.
The industries, right? So I'm going to post things like the hashtag video production, commercial production, e-learning production, that kind of stuff. I couldn't care less if other voice talent see my stuff, right? They're not going to hire me, most likely. So I want to get in front of the people who are most likely to hire me.
Yeah.
So those are the hashtags that I use. So that's how Instagram is kind of its own thing. Now, when it comes to LinkedIn is all business, right? I'm not posting anything but VO stuff on there. And of course, I'm hashtagging all the same stuff on there. And here's another little thing that might be a little controversial, but not controversial. What's the word? Kind of outside the box.
Yeah.
I'm connected with, I don't know, I can't remember how many connections I have on there, but I've been systematically going through and eliminating connections on LinkedIn who would have no chance of hiring me. Right? With the exception of a few voice talent that I'm connected to on there, I have eliminated most everyone that I was connected to before who, if I have somebody that's, a friend from high school who works at a plant somewhere, they're not going to hire me. So let's connect on Facebook, something that's a little bit more, on the social side versus the business side. Because the LinkedIn algorithm is only going to show my stuff to so many people.
Yeah.
So I don't want to waste those impressions on people who would never have a chance of hiring me. Does that make sense?
Oh, yeah, totally.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Totally.
So I've, I want to make sure that I get the maximum value for every single post. So I make sure that the people who are not going to are just not going to see the stuff. So I just disconnect. That might be a little, not a backwards way, but an unconventional way to do things. But if you just think of the math, if my posts are only going to get seen by X number of people, I want to make sure that every single one of them is a potential client or a current client.
Yep.
Right.
Brilliant.
Yep.
Right.
That's really good advice or knowledge to drop.
So is
that
that
happy to connect on all the other places, but when it comes to LinkedIn, I want to streamline things and make sure that everything is, directed to the right people.
Yeah.
Right.
Now, do you have similar focus on like Facebook page for your business versus a Facebook, your personal feed?
Yeah, I have a personal Facebook page that is just for personal stuff, even though it kind of bleeds over. Like if I post something for VO, it'll also post it on my personal Facebook page because I just, my friends and family, I like to have them see what I'm up to. But I do have just a business only Facebook page.
Mm-hmm.
And that's,
Do you find benefit out of that?
Yeah, I do. Because here's what's interesting about the business Facebook page. It gives you more options than the personal Facebook page does.
In what way?
You get different buttons like, book now or, book a call or things like that on there that you don't get with your personal page.
Right.
You also have the ability to do paid advertising on a business page if you want to do that. I've never really advertised my VO services, but it does give you a few more little things that you can, work with on the business page.
That's interesting because I see people have, their actors' Facebook page, their voice actors' Facebook page and stuff like that. And it just makes me wonder. But I think what is most valuable there is, like you said, the extra buttons you get, like the book now, call now kind of thing.
Yep.
Other than that, I mean, because like the last thing I want to do is create another page I have to keep up with that doesn't bring in traffic or something like that. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah.
so I didn't think about that, but I also haven't looked into it myself. But since we have you here, that's good to know. So thanks.
Yeah, and it doesn't take much extra time. Like if I'm doing a post, I'll do posts like, and I'm sorry if you hear my dog ringing the doorbell to go outside.
Oh, we don't hear anything. At least I'm not on my end.
Because I was about to shut the door if I needed to, but what was I saying? Oh yeah, so like if I post something that's a new job that I got or a new client, like on Monday I'm going to be posting. I picked up American Express as a client.
Nice.
So putting that on there on Monday. So it takes me less than 5 minutes to post everywhere. I posted on Instagram, and of course that's connected to my Facebook account. So it'll post on both of those at the same time. And then I drop it in on LinkedIn and then on Twitter and then on my business Facebook account, and I'm done. I mean, less than 5 minutes.
That's really convenient and nice.
Yeah. Yeah.
That is good. I like that. So how often is there a sweet spot for each of those different platforms on how often to post?
Man, that's such a moving target.
Yeah.
There's always, some new article coming out telling you the best days and the best times and then, the frequency to post on social media. I'll be honest, I don't follow all that stuff. When something pops up, I'll put it out there.
Yeah.
I do have a thing that I've been doing on Tuesdays called Testimonial Tuesday, where I'll put a testimonial from a client on Tuesdays. I like to do posts on Monday because I also use the hashtag I love Mondays, which is just because, I mean, most people hate their jobs and they hate going back to work on Mondays, whereas we get to come in here and do this cool thing every Monday, right?
Right
So
on.
it's, I put the hashtag I love Mondays on there. So on Mondays is usually when I post a new, like if I've got a new client or something like that. And then it's just random. If I get a video back from a client that I've worked on or something, that they've put out there, I'll post it whenever I get it. I mean, there's really no rhyme or reason. You could spend all time trying to figure out the best way to hack or, to game the system. And
Right.
I'm just not going to deal with it. I've got too much to do.
But I think
I see
having
stuff
those
all the time about email.
Yeah.
Only send emails Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday between these hours.
Yep.
All right, I was on the other side for 30 years.
Mhm.
I opened all my emails all the time.
Yeah. Yeah.
I don't think there's a magic day in time.
Nope.
Never send them over the weekend. Well, they may not open them over the weekend, but they're coming to work Monday and they'll get to it.
That's the reason that I
think
don't
it's
do.
just send it when you can.
Yeah, exactly right. I mean, and that's what's great about it is that you can do it any time of day or night if you want to. You could send emails at 3 a.m. if you needed to.
Right.
Or schedule them to be sent, whatever. That's the reason why I don't really do as many cold calls. Well, when I first started doing this, I did a lot of cold calling. And then I started doing the email marketing, and I found that email marketing is, I get about the same response rate via email versus cold calling. So much so that I've now hired an assistant to do that part of it for me. She's been working for me now for about a month, and it's going great. She has access to my CRM. She goes in, I've got templates in there. She does the research, she sends them out. And then when they reply back, then of course that it's,
that's when you take over, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Now let me ask you this:
Cool.
is that something like you put out like a feeler through like some kind of job thing, or did you go through VA for VO?
No, I used one that my wife uses. And you know what? Let me find out what I've almost forgotten what the name of the company is. It's like iWorker or something like that. Let me see here.
And I take it
yeah.
iWorker is not necessarily VO specific. They just have experience in lead generation in general.
Right.
You just got to give them the parameters, and then
It is iWorker. And basically, you do have to train them. You have to kind of show them the ropes and tell them how to go and look up, do the Googling and look up the companies and find something to talk about on their website. I like that one video on your site with the thing and the guy with the shirt and whatever, be personalized. And then just show them how to use the CRM and they crank it out. One what's great about her is that she has specialty in that lead generation space. So she uses things like Apollo and stuff like that to actually go in and find email addresses and names. And then she also connects on LinkedIn for them. So she'll find them. She sends an email to the person, then she follows up on LinkedIn to connect there. So it's kind of a twofer.
Yep.
And I take it, I mean, this might be a stupid question, but I take it people that work through iWorker, they're like vetted and stuff like that. Yeah, they have to be able to trust them because if they have access to certain things of your personal information. So
Yep. Well, that's kind of why I wanted to make sure that that's why I gave her access to my CRM and not my email. Now she can send from my email through my CRM, but she doesn't have access to my actual like login information for my email.
Gotcha.
She has log information for the CRM only. And of course I've got a list of templates in there of all kinds of scenarios that she can use.
What CRM do you use, Mike?
I use Cloze.
Cloze?
Yeah, Cloze.
Okay.
I was using Voice Overview for years, but I found that it was a little limited on the CRM front. I mean, it's great for tracking, work and expenses and stuff like that. But Cloze has a bunch of really good advanced features, like mail merge and stuff like that, where I can literally send, with a click of a button, I can send an email to every single client of mine that will actually call them by name, in the email, make it personal, and send it to all of them with one button. In fact, it just reminds me I need to send one today to everybody because I'm going to be out of the office next Friday. And I got to make sure that everybody knows that.
Yeah. Cool. Oh, yeah. Cool.
Yeah, I had not heard of Cloze. That's a new one.
Yeah.
I hadn't either.
It was originally created for the real estate industry. And I've looked at a bunch of different ones. I looked at HubSpot and Basecamp and, of course, Salesforce. That's too big. That's too much of a overkill. What were some of those? Nimble. Anyway, I found Cloze to be, so far the most user-friendly and, it has all the stuff that I need and it doesn't break the bank. Yeah.
Yeah, we also have been looking at, or actually I'm using right now, it's called Less Annoying CRM. And it is just what it says. It's very basic, very simple, easy to navigate, and like $15 a month.
Nice.
You just can't beat it.
Less annoying CRM. Well, at least they're honest.
Yeah. But Cloze, that's another good example for listeners to go check out because there's so many. And I know, I guess it was Brad Newman that was shutting his down, I think, because of difficulties keeping things going and paying people and et cetera, et cetera. So, it's got to be a hard business.
That's the upper level, right?
Yeah, upper level. That's the thing about him. I was open to trying his out, but I could never find any sort of like walkthrough or I couldn't even see it anywhere.
Mm-hmm.
Like there was nowhere you could go and look at it and see what it was all about. Like you just had to kind of trust, I guess, that it was what it was. Brad's awesome though. I mean, he's who I use for my hosting, for my website and stuff. So yeah, he's the man.
Yep, for sure.
Okay. We talk a lot on this show about the mental side of being in the booth all day and sometimes getting in our head when we're trying to audition or perform in the booth, and how important it is to get outside of the booth, to get some sunshine. Jake and I are big disc golfers, and Troy loves the horses. He gets out on the horses and rides, and he gets sunshine when he's on the tractor, right, Troy?
Yes, sir. Tractor time is good time.
Talk about your skateboarding hobby and what that is for you, how important it is for you to get out in the sunshine.
Oh,
yeah,
man.
Is that a Frankenstein board?
What's that?
That bottom board looks like, and maybe I'm misquoting, isn't that like based off of Van Halen's guitar?
It is. In fact, it's funny you mentioned that because I just finished building the Frankenstein replica. And the reason I just did that last weekend on that board, that's one of my old boards. I was like, you know what? Now that I know how to do this paint job, I'm going to Frankenstein everything. So I started painting. I did that. I did a little water bottle and stuff. But I built a custom like Frankenstein Eddie Van Halen tribute guitar.
That's amazing.
I am building it. It's still in process. But as far as skateboarding, Like I said earlier, I started skateboarding when I was like 12. But I quickly kind of got a love for it and started doing it. And like I said, for a while there, did it professionally. And it's something that I still do. I mean, I'm 51 years old, about to be 52 next month, and I still do it and love it. And in between being, broken or whatever, I still try to do it as much as I can. Built a pool in our backyard, specifically for skateboarding, that we swim in the summertime and we skate in the wintertime.
That's amazing.
And, this Sunday is the first session for this winter season, because we have everybody over on Sundays, and a bunch of old dudes come out and some young guys and girls come out and skate every Sunday. And I try to live stream it on my Facebook and stuff. And it's fun. So still try to do that when I can. And it's nice to be able to just hop in the backyard and, like you said, get your power from Earth's yellow sun. Also a reason why I bought this new booth with windows, because I used to be in the closet. So I came out of the closet and got this booth. Now I've got sunlight that I can see that way. I've even got this one, or the blinds open. See, if I do this, I can see right out into the field next door. So it's cool.
That's awesome.
Big help.
Yeah.
Mike, have you found, like I have, which I just turned 60. Have you found,
congrats.
like I have? I know when I fall off of a horse these days, the recovery time is just slightly longer than it was in my 30s.
Yeah. You think? Yep.
And the bruise factor has definitely changed when I hit the ground. I used to, I could get up and, the next day there was no bruise. There was no yellow, black stuff. Now it's like my whole leg turns black. I don't know what the heck's going on.
Yeah, but here's the thing. You got to keep doing that stuff to stay young, or at least to stay mentally young, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Now, I'm not doing the stuff that I did in my 20s and 30s on a skateboard.
Right.
I'm not getting air anymore. I just like to carve and go fast and try to, I've realized that I have to kind of dial back my skill level a little bit, because I still feel 20 when I'm skating, and I have to really make sure that I'm not getting out there and getting too gnarly and
same here.
crazy.
I no longer go off the 15-foot cliffs or drops. I used to teach my horses to belly slide down stuff.
Whoa.
I don't do that anymore.
Crazy.
And I mean, I'm talking about, 70, 80 feet,
Wow.
on a pretty steep incline, and the horse would just sit down on his rump and slide down through there like, going down a slide.
That's crazy.
But, I used to do all that stuff and, get off in deep water, right up to the horse's neck. And
Wow.
not anymore. I love to go trail ride on nice government maintained flat trails.
Mm-hmm.
Still these days, I don't mind climbing a small hill here and there, going down in a ditch or whatever. But no, I'm not Evel Knievel anymore.
Right.
Those days are over.
We always have to, it sucks getting old, but I mean, it's inevitable. So we just gotta, kind of go along with it and do our best.
Just to adjust and keep going and don't give up.
Yeah.
Keep going.
See, I like in disc golf, I play competitively, and I didn't start playing competitively until several years ago. But there's age brackets, so I can play with all the other people in their 50s.
Yeah. Well, there is in skateboarding too, like in competition. I mean, like when I skate in contests, there's like there's a 40 and up and a 50 and up kind of division.
Oh, that's awesome.
Yeah. So I'm competing against other geriatrics like myself.
I think it's great, especially for the mental side, that you can focus competitively on something that's outside of what you do in the grind of day in and day out, right? So I think it's healthy for you to try to improve at something that's not your day-to-day. All
right, so I got a question kind of outside the realm of the hobbies, and it just hit me all of a sudden, and I think Mike can probably give us a little insight. We saw this huge influx of people, and I was one of them in 2020 who got into this, whether by accident or somebody pointed you this way, and you got in it, and there were a lot of people who did between 2020 and probably early 2022 or whatever, during all of the shutdowns and everything that went on.
Yeah.
I sort of see a trend, and Paul Smith put out a video about this a few weeks ago, that there's a mass exodus. I don't know if we call it that. There's a lot of freaking gear for sale. I've noticed that on Facebook and everywhere.
Yeah.
But are you seeing the traffic you saw of people starting up, coming to you for help that you saw then? Is it going down, or are you seeing maybe more people coming back trying to learn more and up their game so they can stay in and not fall out?
That's a really good question. And it's funny that you say that, because I literally, in the last 5 minutes, I got an email from someone on my website wanting to talk about, getting into voiceover. But it's interesting that I think a lot of people got scared by AI. So they think that, there's like, here comes the AI, voiceover's dead. I'm going to get out, while the getting's good and whatever. And that's probably part of it. But to answer the question, I really have not seen either an influx or a decline in people who are trying to, kind of get in to the business. I can see how that would happen, though. I mean, because like you said, there's a lot of people who got into this during that time. Either they were downsized or whatever. And, people told them that they had a nice voice and they thought they should do something with it. And that's great. But there's a lot of people who just don't have what it takes, not performance wise. Well, maybe a little performance wise, but on the marketing side and the, being willing to go out there and just do the grind of getting yourself out in front of the people that you need to be in front of. Of all the people that I've worked with over the years, the ones who are still successful, you two included, are the ones who know what to do and go and do it day in and day out. If you want to make this a career, you have to put that kind of work into it.
Yeah.
Right.
I mean, you can be a hobbyist, you can be a side hustle, whatever, that's fine.
Yep.
But if you really want to do this full time, you have to have the right bait, to use a fishing analogy, which is your demos, right? And website and everything.
Yep.
You have to have great sound quality, and you have to have the marketing. Without one of those three things, you're done. It's like a three-legged stool. You take one leg out, it's done. So I think that's what a lot of people do, is they think they see the glamorous side of voiceover and they're like, yeah, I'm going to do this and it's going to be great.
Sure.
And then they get in and they realize that it's not so glamorous most of the time, and it's work.
Yeah.
And they don't have what it takes to go. And so I think that's what happens.
I caught you on something, and you gave yourself away. You actually Tennessee'd on a word.
What did I say?
You perfectly said "get out," G-E-T, get out perfectly. Then you said, "while the getting's good."
While the getting's good.
And now my ear is so tuned to that stuff with all this coaching I've had on dialect.
Yeah.
And I thought, he did it. So we can say Mike is actually from the Knoxville, Tennessee area, but he was able to shed his accent quite well.
For the most part. I did do a bunch of dialect coaching myself. And plus, just not living there anymore helps. When you're
That's all you hear,
We're
right?
seeing the opposite here, because we have such an influx of people moving in here that are not from here. And we're seeing the younger generation, they're not hearing what we heard 30, 40 years ago.
Right.
They're hearing a lot of different accents at school. They're hearing more general, American English.
Yep.
And it is really changing that, which is amazing to me. And then the other taboo thing I would like for us to touch on before we go, and Alden, you may have this on this list. Let's talk about that thing called Fiverr.
Oh, no.
Fiverr sometimes to some people, to the, and then some people say the older generation, and I understand it. I totally understand why some of those people hate it like they hate it. I totally understand where they see it as a cheap out and et cetera, et cetera. But as some of us sitting here know, and for me, Fiverr is still a spoke in my wheel. It's a small spoke.
Same here.
It's a 10% or less of what I do a month, but it's only one or two orders, and they're always close to industry rate or above industry rate at times. I don't book $5 orders there. Did I suffer through the first year and a half to get to where I could? Yes, I did. And I get a witness. Start. let's kick that can just for a second.
All right. So I think a lot of the, we'll call them industry, old school, what do we want to call them?
SAG-AFTRA people.
Traditionalists. Yeah, maybe the SAG-AFTRA people too. They still think that that Fiverr is only about those $5 a holler type jobs. There's another Knoxville for you, holler.
$5 a holler. I love that.
But they think it's because that's what it started as, right? I mean, that's how it got its name, right? And so it was $5. But yeah, you're right. I mean, you can get industry or above rates on there. I mean, you can set your own rates no matter where you are,
Right.
So yeah, I think it's changing. Now, I will say that, speaking of AI again, that those jobs on Fiverr are going to be the ones that are gobbled up first.
Absolutely.
By AI. And they already are, I'm sure.
I think they already are. Yeah.
Yeah. Because, most of those, well, I don't want to say most of those jobs, but many of those jobs on Fiverr, the buyer is just looking for something that's good enough.
Right.
Those YouTube, videos and, all that low end stuff. They're realizing now that for the price of one voiceover that they would pay a human to do, they can buy some software and do all of their videos forever.
Right.
And so those are the jobs that are getting eaten up first. And so,
right.
But there are still people on there willing to pay good money for good work.
Right.
And, I'm not going to tell anybody how to put food on their table.
Right.
There are some of these people who try to make themselves feel better by talking bad about platforms that other people are on to kind of, I don't know why they do it, but yeah, I'm not going to tell anybody how to make money. And as long as it's an ethical way to go, knock yourself out.
Yeah, and I understand their opinion. I'm very good friends with someone who grew up in this industry, has been in this industry 40, 45 years, and they hate it. But they also understand why it was invaluable to new people for the last several years to learn and train and try to practice and make some money and then invest that money to get better and better and get off of there, which makes sense. My opinion on it all right now is if you're starting now, you're not going to have the luck that we had 3 or 4 years ago, breaking into there, getting some work and building through those levels. I think it's twice as hard or even harder now than it was a few years ago. Because I see so many people posting, and I've heard their demos and they're not bad, but they'll say, I've been on there 4 months and haven't gotten my first job. I see a lot of that. So,
like you said, with the influx of people who jumped on there in the last few years, it's volume. There's a lot of people on there, right? And so, the buyers are having to hack through all of these different profiles, right? And so, because it is seen as kind of an entry level type situation, you get your feet wet a little bit with some recording and editing and working with scripts and clients and stuff. You make a little bit of money, and like you said, reinvest that into your business or coaching or whatever you're trying to do. And then, work up from there. But the goal should always be to diversify. There's been so many people who jump on Fiverr and they have their entire business in Fiverr, right? Or I've heard of these in the past where if all of a sudden Fiverr just went away or changed something about their business model, their business is done.
Or break their TOS.
Yeah, right.
They'll pull the plug on you in a hurry. I've seen that happen.
So,
a couple of times.
That's one of the other reasons why, just like the pay to play reason, I just don't like to work within the confines of somebody's platform. I would much rather just work directly with people who are going to be much easier to deal with, most likely higher rates, and just so much, it's more freeing, to do that.
Yeah, you can't build a relationship with a platform.
No.
And we've talked about my story on there. When I hit TOS or top level seller, I was making $5,000-$6,000 a month for a while.
Yeah.
And then I think that's when the influx happened and we got so many. You know, I feel like I've done well if I've made $1,200, $1,500
Yeah.
at this
But
point.
even that, I mean, that's better than nothing, right? That's a
It
mortgage
is.
payment. That's a, you know,
But
that's
Exactly.
but I can't build my voiceover career around it.
no, not at all. Not at all.
Right.
If it's one spoke in your revenue wheel, that's
Yeah.
fine. Just like Upwork, you know, and I've
Yep.
found that Upwork, the rates can be a little bit better on Upwork. You know, you kind of get a little bit, you know, higher echelon of customer on there.
Right.
I mean, yeah, there's still the crap, but
Right.
you still get a little bit of, you know, better pay on there. But with all of those platforms, that should just be a single spoke in your full revenue wheel,
Right.
where most of it should be direct marketing or
Yeah.
direct clients.
Yep.
Yeah, I know when I started on Fiverr, August, I guess it was, of 2020, there were like 700 new gigs for voiceover. And you go on there and look now, and there's probably 7,000.
Wow. Yeah.
It's really changed.
Well, you know, if there is an exodus, as you mentioned earlier, then, you know, maybe that'll change. But, you know, like I said, even if there is, I think the AI stuff it's going to make that moot
I agree.
anyway. It's just
I
going to,
agree.
Yeah.
it's
Be a
just going to be
wash.
gone.
And you got to wonder how many of that 6,000 profiles are even active.
True.
You know,
Yeah,
people
true.
set them up and they're going to do it, and then they never go look. But what that does is it clogs the algorithm, because Fiverr's still churning those profiles.
Yeah.
Does it turn those profiles even if they shut their thing down? Because, you know, I made that one
they shut
earlier
it
this
down,
year
it'll
just to
go
kind of test
away,
the
but-
water, but
Yeah, if you shut it down and take it off, it comes out of the equation. We're not going to see that in there as a number. But if it's left active and they just don't fool with it,
Yeah.
it
They just
sits.
ignore it.
So
It's
yeah,
typically,
Yeah,
I
and there's
think, what
another thing
happens.
that I think happens too is that people, you know, they get their Blue Yeti and plug it into their laptop and they think that they're doing voiceovers, you know, in their kitchen or whatever. So,
Right.
you know,
Right.
you never know how many, you know, what percentage of the people who are on there are not quality,
Sure.
you know, people who really are going to do a good job for people, right? So,
Yep.
like you said, it's going to clog the system up.
Yeah, and that's going to make it harder for you if you have had training and stuff, and you think, well, that's an outlet, I should go on there and try it. Don't let that frustrate you. If you've had the right training and everything, your
Yeah.
results you're getting on that platform may not be a reflection of your ability. So get with somebody like Mike, get evaluated, let him talk to you and help you through that, because you could just be on the wrong path.
Yeah, and that's kind of what the going back to that hybrid thing before. I mean, the end goal of a hybrid demo is to have a pro quality demo. I mean, if you listen to the hybrid demos that I've worked on with people over the years, they are pro quality. So at that point, you know, the shackles are off. You're not limited to just those platforms. I mean, if you're
Right.
working with kind of a DIY situation, you pretty much have to live in the Fivers and Upworks, you know, of the world. But once you actually get a pro quality demo, sky's the limit. Then you can go out and start doing your direct marketing and going straight to the source and getting that work.
And I'll say that I feel like that's where I got a lot of value out of your coaching, Mike, is we did the DIY for my narration demo, but I also had a DIY commercial demo that I had done. You listened to it and gave me some tips and helped me upgrade that to where, and gave me the confidence to use it for marketing.
Yeah.
You know, because you said, hey, you can market with this. You should be sending this out, because I had not at that point done any direct email marketing.
Yeah.
And Mike also helped me build my website, which gave me a great business card to put in front of people. So
yeah, those are the two big, you know, your demos and your web presence are paramount for direct marketing, because the whole ball game when you're doing direct marketing is driving people to your website.
Yep.
Because that's where they're going to hear, you know, they're going to hear all your stuff and learn more about you. Never attach anything to an email, especially a cold email.
right.
Right.
Obviously, if they ask you to send them something afterwards, then
That's
do that.
different.
But never initially send out a cold email with an attachment, because it'll go straight to the trash or to spam or whatever. But yeah, that's why your website should just really just be great. And then the demos on that website should be great as well. And that's your bait. And then you just keep casting.
Yeah.
Yep.
Awesome.
So,
Yep.
I mean, I'm sure at this point, people listening might be curious about your services. Where can they find you? Where would you tell them to go to look at those services, and how can they contact you if they need to do that?
They can shoot me an email, mike@mikehathcote.com, or they can just go to mikehathcote.com. I've got an email or a contact form on there. Feel free to reach out, and we can hop on a call, just discuss where they are, where they are currently, where they want to go, what they've been doing, what they want to do, and we'll just go from there. Everything is
Awesome.
kind of tailored to the specific needs of the person.
That's
Yeah,
awesome.
that was my
And
other question was, yeah, go ahead, Jake.
Well, I was going to say, and also, if people are curious about, like, for instance, your Instagram, just to kind of see maybe some skateboarding or see some stuff you do in your life, what's your Instagram? Is it Mike Hathcote as well?
At Mike Hathcote. Yep.
Nice. Okay.
Yep.
Nice and simple, guys. So
all
shouldn't
those
have any trouble
are on my
finding
website as well, which is another big important thing on your website. Put all your social
them. Right.
media links on there, right up top where everybody can see them. All those are on the top right of my website, so feel free to jump on there. And it's Hathcote. A lot of people misspell it, but
Sure.
yeah.
Not like a winter coat.
Right, exactly.
Yeah.
Like a coyote.
So to the listeners, before we close out, if you're needing to upgrade your demo or, get some good coaching from Mike, reach out to him and you can do that. And I appreciate coaches like Mike that will even meet with you in a quick Zoom call just to see where you're at and what you're expecting, So, and they all the time do that. It's just a quick Zoom call and you can get some feedback and get set up. So do you still do like the 6-pack?
I do. I've changed it up since then. It's been several years. I do a different kind of thing around the hybrid demos. It's actually 5 sessions now, but basically the way it works is the first session is we go and find all the scripts that we need, based on usually your interests. I always like to make sure that the client, has some sort of a connection to the copy. If you drive a Honda, then we'll go find a Honda spot, or if you whatever. So we try to find the scripts on the first one. The next 2 are practice sessions where we work on the performance, the very important performance aspect of everything. And if we need to add more sessions in there, we can. Usually 2 is enough, but sometimes, different skill levels and whatever, we add another one. But and then we have the directed session. That's session number 4, where they're recording on their side, I'm directing on my side. We get all this, scripts down. And then the last session, the 5th session, is what I call the snippets, where we pick the pieces of each spot that we're going to use, and then we put them in the right order to make sure that there's a good flow and, nothing too similar is close to each other and everything, and put it all together. And that's the demo.
Awesome.
And that's a little simplified, but I mean, that's basically how they work.
Yeah,
but
that's the format. I love it.
Yeah.
I love it.
Yeah.
Well, it's been great to have you on, Mike. I appreciate you coming and joining us and answering so many questions. And I hope people take advantage of some coaching with you. I know it helped me get my career off the ground, and I appreciate it.
I certainly appreciate you guys.
Same for me. It was a big boost for me.
Thank you, sir. And Jake, I don't really know you, but I do know, Alden and Troy, and super proud of the work that both you guys have done. I mean, it warms my heart, when I see people who I worked with early on who are now just out there slaying, and it's killer. I love it.
Well, I was going to ask, are there some notable voiceovers that you've coached? But I figured you were just going to say Troy and Alden. That's
right.
Be it.
Well, you literally, I'm serious. You 2 are 2 that I would put right up there. I'm trying to think of. Do you guys know Randy Scott?
I've heard that name.
Yep.
Not Mark Scott, Randy Scott.
Right.
Randy's killing it. I mean, I don't have enough fingers to name them. Do you guys know Gerald Nicholson?
I don't think so.
That one.
Gerald is somebody I worked with several years ago. He is now the official voice of the Black News Channel, which is kind of like the CNN for African Americans.
Oh, sweet.
Cool.
He's got a real deep kind of James Earl Jones kind of a
Perfect.
thing.
Yeah.
And so he ended up being the voice of that station, or of that cable news channel. Oh, you put me on the spot here. I'm trying to think.
Well, no pressure. I'm sure your students appreciate you regardless, and we know.
Yeah. So it's always fun though to see the people that, like I said, are willing to get out there and get dirty, actually make it big. You know, it's great.
That's so cool. That's so
Good
cool.
Stuff.
Well, we do need to wrap up. We're just under an hour. And again, Mike, it's been great to have you for another VO podcast with Jake, Troy, and Alden. It's been fun. See ya.
Take care.
Thanks for making it all the way through another VO podcast with Jake, Alden, and Troy. We'd love to hear from you. Email us at anothervopodcast@gmail.com. And be sure to like or comment on your podcast platform. We drop episodes every week and interview peers once a month also. If you have something you'd like to ask or topics in mind we need to discuss, let us know. Otherwise, we hope to see you next week right here on another VO podcast.